ANC in Gauteng is holding its 14th provincial conference in Benoni, where Lebogang Maile is going head-to-head with the Gauteng Education MEC, Panyaza Lesufi, for the position of provincial chairperson. Our politics reporter, Mbali Thethani, is in Benoni. Very good afternoon to you, Mbali. We know that there were numerous delays, 10-hour delays because of credentials. Now the process is finally unfolding. Talk to us about the latest developments.
Well, that's certainly right, and of course we know that the 14th provincial conference of the ANC in Gauteng is indeed underway, and you are indeed right when it comes to those delays. Of course, we know that this indeed is the last day for this conference to go ahead, and much of the program itself has not even been dealt with. And Paul, we now know that following those adoption of the credentials, which we saw those being adopted during the early hours of this morning, and you would know that the issues around credentials is honestly really dealt with on the first day of conference. And of course, this was only or came to fruition on the last day of conference during the early hours of this morning. And we know that that then leads the way and paves the way for the nominations process, which also took place this morning. Of course, we now know officially that Panyaza Lesufi as well as Lebogang Maile will go head-to-head this afternoon as delegates continue to go and cast their votes, voting in the top officials of the ANC in Gauteng. A bit earlier on, the delegates here asked for a small break to take place here at the conference. They've then gone off to take a breather and freshen up because, you know, the issues of conference only concluded in the early hours of this morning. They are then expected to come back. We were told earlier on by Pulemabe that we will begin to see voting processes taking place from around 3 o'clock this afternoon. But I must say that just speaking to the many delegates who are here, the delegates are beginning to trickle into the conference once more. But they are saying that these ballot papers are still being prepared, and some of them will start the voting process, and we'll only be seeing that voting process get underway shortly. So, of course, it is something that takes quite some time, and Paul. So we are expecting in the next hour or so that this conference will then deal with the voting process, voting in that top 5 position that will lead the ANC in Gauteng, and Paul. But at the same time, we know that there still needs to be the announcement of the top 5 officials, and at the same time that this conference will also then have to nominate members of the PEC, and of course those are the additional members for the ANC in Gauteng. But everything, I must say that it is running over time. It is running late. Just yesterday, we also heard from David Makura saying that because of the programming taking so long, you know, they have to also look into avenues around whether this conference will have to reconvene, and they will then have to hold meetings to try and iron out and, of course, conclude the matters of this conference. But so far, delegates are trickling in. They are trying to come back to the main plenary hall. We will then begin to see the voting of those top officials get underway in Paul.
It was a conference filled with many other elements, Mbali. We know that court interdict, an urgent court interdict last night also was another stumbling block. Let's perhaps bring our viewers up to speed with what happened there.
That's right, Paul. We saw that court challenge from Jabulani Sithole from Ward 83 in Ekurhuleni, just questioning the likes of those 19 quarantine votes, and that took most of the day yesterday with the legal threats and then finally the legal action coming through and the South Gauteng High Court then hearing that matter. But we do know that that matter has now been struck off the roll, and of course it's struck off the roll with costs because the judge there questioning the timing of this litigation in the ANC. And of course it is pertaining to indeed that Ekurhuleni conference which took place in May. The judge also being quite firm there in his judgment, talking about the issue in Ekurhuleni, saying that there were not other avenues that were taken before this urgent court application was filed to the South Gauteng High Court, that this matter was not even challenged at a regional level, trying to take the results of the ANC in Ekurhuleni, the results of that region, to court to try and question the issues around those 19 quarantine votes from those 5 branches. So, of course, that's taking up most of the time yesterday, delaying our conference once more and not allowing it to get through with the business of the day. But late at night, that judgment came through, indeed, that matter being struck off the roll, allowing the processes of this conference to go ahead. But I must say, Mpho, even that issue around the 19 quarantine votes, that also was a stumbling block for this conference, especially when it came to the delegates dealing with this matter. Some saying that they wanted those 19 votes of those branches, those 5 branches in Ekurhuleni, to be reopened, while others are saying that they must remain quarantined. But you'd also know that just before this conference started, the ANC PEC said that it will indeed allow the members of those 5 branches to participate in this conference, but those 19 votes from those branches will remain quarantined.
Thani, let's leave it there for now as we continue, of course, to keep a very close eye on the outcome of that ANC Gauteng elective conference.